Every once in a while a revolutionary idea appears that alters the fabric of our societies. The accompanying behaviors and technologies do not occur by chance. They are the aggregation of ancient trends and the inventiveness of millions. Language, agriculture, parliaments, the printing press, network computing, blockchains, and artificial intelligence all transformed our world forever, rearranging human societies with a vision for the future. Today we are bringing forth such a vision, yeah. In a world in which our lives are increasingly digital and borderless, the bureaucratic institutions of the state have been left behind, incapable of providing a peaceful order. The Westphalian system that birthed the nation state is struggling to keep up with a multipolar, interconnected world in this paradigm shift. The supranational global elite is cannibalizing its citizens, and the fiat monetary system is collapsing in real time. We see this as the terminal phase of the Western project, a time of debt, slavery, war, displacement, manipulation, corruption, broken ecosystems, widespread surveillance, nihilist values, socialized impoverishment, and bipartisan tyranny across the world. We are sleepwalking into a series of interdependent catastrophes, and the likes of which have not been witnessed in generations. While most believe the situation is hopeless, we know it is not. To prove it, we are declaring independence from this dying order, reopening the frontier and establishing logos, a self-sovereign network state founded on the solid ground of liberty, security, privacy, openness, and decentralization. Logos is the ancient Greek concept for the connection between...
Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another town hall. I'm your host, Corey. If you don't know me, we got a lot of demos today. It's a pretty quiet week. It's been a couple quiet weeks. We have a lot of the organization at Dark Prague. Jared's given a nice talk. Look forward to seeing that, sharing it with you guys after it's available. Starting off, we'll do a couple IFT announcements. We have a hackathon going on right now. 2 $4,000 prizes. It's the Privacy in Practice. You can go to the links in the description to find this. That's the first one, I think. And sign up, build some real tools that help people do real things, and maybe win some money. Good video here that explains it all. Logos.co campaigns real fi hack. Be doing a lot of stuff like this. And we don't have too many shout outs this week, but I've been told by the People Ops team that we'll do a big one next time around. So 2 weeks, we'll have quite a few shout outs. If there's somebody that you want to appreciate, say hello to, tell them how good they're doing, send the People Ops way, and then we'll get some cards going and do a big round of it in 2 weeks. For now, we got shout outs to the Spaces team, Isaac, Sterling, and Cher, helping killing it. That came from Roxana. Seen a lot of good spaces come on, and a lot of good participation in those spaces when they come out. So let's keep those rolling. As for releases this time around, both Nimbus has 2 releases. The execution client, verified proxy, has a minor release, point release here from 2 to 2.1. The consensus layer release has a new one. It's a medium urgency for mainnet, people who are running mainnet and validators, basically based on stability oriented updates. And then a high urgency for any of the test nets for Ethereum because of the upcoming Fusaka forks. So if you're running Nimbus, get those going, especially if you're running on test nets. GS Waku has a number of releases. Most of our demos today, actually all of our demos are around Waku. So if they have anything relevant within the updates, they can let you know while they're doing them, but you can see them here. And then all the details, the highlights can be found right here in the release notes. Status Desktop has a point release. It is Korean translations, so go check that out. If you know any Korean people that would like to have a native desktop application, their way. Up first, even though it says Jazz here, I'm going to bring on Frank because he is in a time zone that sucks right now and he's really late and he wants to go to bed. So, what's up, Frank?
Hey, thanks, Corey. So hi, everyone. I'm Frank from Waku, and today we are talking about reliable channels, which is a feature I added to JS Waku, so our JavaScript, TypeScript implementation for the browser. So first, what is reliable channels? So it's a feature that wraps scalable data sync, SDS. SDS is a protocol we designed 9-12 months ago now, and we had an implementation in JS Waku and in NIM already. And what I've done is wrap it. So first, let's have a quick overview on SDS. So the aim of SDS, scalable data sync, is to achieve end-to-end reliability by consolidating distributed logs in a decentralized and scalable manner. So a lot of complex work. What we're trying to do here is, well, when you are in a group chat with other people and you don't have a centralized server that can be the source of truth and basically can say, here are the 10 messages in the group chat, but instead you have a decentralized network, you want to ensure that everyone in the group chat have the same messages, right? No one is missing any message. And when I send a message, I want to have some feedback that the other people in the group chat have received my message. Scalable manner, so that's an important part. With Waku, bandwidth is the scarce resource here. So you don't want, if you have a big group chat of 1,000 people, I don't really want to send one message and then get 1,000 response of everyone saying, hey, I received your message, right? Because that will not scale. So SDS do some neat things to help with this kind of scalability. One of the main interesting features of SDS is the causal history. So someone sent a first message, and then someone sent a second message, and as part of the second message, they add an ID of the first message to say, as a log, hey, here's the previous message to me, right? And then another message is being received, message 4, which contain the ID of message 3 and message 2, etc. So in this case, here I kept to 2 messages in the causal history, 2 IDs in the causal history. But you can see here that when I receive message 4, I am told, hey, here's an ID for a message. I haven't received this message, and it's clear to me, okay, I'm missing a message here, right? And I can try to do things to try to find this message. So yeah, so I can know. So as I can know a message is missing, as I can know a message missing, and if I am the one sending messages, right? Let's say I send message 6, or I send a message, in between there, and nobody include my message ID, then clearly they haven't received it, and maybe I can try to send it again. Another interesting feature that we are going to talk about today is the retrieval hints. So, we have message 5 that says, here's a couple of previous messages, 3 and 4. You can also attach a hint on how to find this message. So SDS, most Waku protocols are agnostic of each other. So SDS is Waku agnostic. It's designed to work with Waku, but it doesn't have to work with Waku. You could use SDS with any kind of routing protocol. So here what we can say is that we can put a hint, and in the case of Waku, it will be message ID hint. And with the message ID, you can then use that to do store hash query. So store hash query is just a query to some of the store servers where you give a message ID and you want to get the content of the message, right? So in this case, I can see that message 3 is missing, and I'm told as well that the message ID is DEF. I'm going to ask some random store node, hey, do you have this message DEF? Sorry about that. Okay, so what it gives you is a true acknowledgement where you do get feedback from other users in the group chat. So if Bob says, hi, Alice, when Alice replies, hi, Bob, she includes in her causal history the ID to the first message. And so Bob now can have double tick as you do with Signal and WhatsApp and other modern chat apps. Finally, there's another interesting concept to mention here is a sync message. So if nobody is sending message in the channel, you still want to have some traffic. So if I send a message and everyone receives it, I want to get some feedback on that. So the sync message is basically an empty message where there is no content, but it does contain the causal history. And the idea is that it should be sent regularly, but that's not what SDS does. SDS just defines message. What Reliable Channel does is make this kind of decision on how to use SDS. So what is Reliable Channel? It is an opinionated and simple API that wraps SDS, makes a bunch of decisions for you, so that as a developer, you can come in, you can have end-to-end reliability, you can have various features, and you know how to think about it. So what features do you have with SDS? You have periodic store hash queries for missed messages. So any message which is flagged as missed, is going to do a periodic store query to try to find them. Whenever it's connected to a new store node, it's going to do a store query. It's going to do a time range query. So that's a query where it's going to ask for the recent history, see if it can grab any new message. It's going to handle the sync messages by trying to send them on a regular basis. It's going to give you nice API so you can know that your messages are being acknowledged. And it also has some basic retry mechanism. So yeah, so let's go into these opinions of Reliable Channel. So in terms of sync, so the sync message is something that you don't want to send too many of them as well, either. Sorry. So the way I implemented it is that you schedule. Okay, so I'm going to send a sync message in sometime in the future between 0 and 30 seconds with some randomness. So that if someone else in the channel ends up sending a sync message before me, because maybe I'm scheduled to 20 seconds and they're scheduled to 10 seconds, it's a random value between 0 and 30 seconds, which is calculated every time. And whenever I receive such a message, I restart my timer so that I can say, okay, there was at least one sync message in the channel in the last 30 seconds. I don't have to send it myself and restart the timer. What you want to avoid is being the one always sending messages, because in this case, you are not getting any acknowledgement from anyone, and you may not be aware of messages that you didn't receive yourself. So if I'm the one sending a sync message, I'm going to double the time range, or the range of time for me to send it again, to try to decrease the chance of me sending 2 sync messages in a row. And finally, if I do receive a proper message, a content message is just a proper message, a proper user message, I'm going to try to accelerate me sending a sync message so that I can give them an hack. And so in this case, when you receive a content message, I schedule the randomness between 0 to 15 seconds so that I can try to reply fast to this person so that they can have the double tick. And the opinion here is a missing message retriever. So SDS will flag messages as missing when it sees messages in the causal history that it didn't see before. So I buffer that, and we every 10 seconds I do a random query to a random store node, and using the message ID of missing messages, see if I can get the content of these messages. Do note that one other opinion here is the causal history length is defaulted to 200 messages, meaning that if I'm able to get one message from the channel, this gives me the ID of the 200 previous messages in the channel, which allows me to do a big hash query, which is good because hash query are efficient. They are queries just based on the message ID, so you have a good index on that. And it's much more efficient to do one quick hash query and get exactly the message you need than doing a bunch of time range query where you ask for all the messages on a contact topic to the store node. and you may have a bunch of messages that you don't care about, for example. And also, time range query are usually not as efficient with the store implementation. Another opinion here is a retry manager. So it's very, very basic. But the idea is that reliable channel will resend messages until you get some acknowledgement. For now, it's very basic. It will retry every 30 seconds and stop after 10 retries. Just something to get it started. Then we have the query on connect. So that's part of reliable channel. It's not totally related to SDS, but just like another feature we have in there. When you connect to a store node, it's going to try, it might do a store query to ask for recent messages. And there's some heuristic. So if it's the first time you connect to a store node, then it just does it. If the last time it did that was more than 5 minutes ago, then it will do it. Or if it was detected as offline, we have some heuristic in place in Waku SDK to detect when you're offline. So if it was detected offline, we do the query. And the query will either be 24 hours if it's the first query, or we do record the last time we did a successful query so that we don't just spam the store nodes. All right, so that's basically the opinions which are describe what reliable channel add to SDS. Let's have a quick look at the API. So that's not changed. That's today how we create a node with Waku. We have a create light node function, and default bootstrap allows you to connect to the Waku network. You have to define your content topic. For a content topic is how we manage content addressing in Waku. So basically a label that we can attach to messages and you can use to find messages with various Waku protocols. And then you create encoder and decoders with this content topic. Encoder and decoder are useful as well for encryption and decryption. So you can create an encoder that's going to encrypt messages, for example. So that's not changed. We will change that actually very soon, but I didn't change that for now. Now, when you want to create a channel, so you do have to decide on a channel name. Of course, all the participants of this channel do have to have the same channel name. Ideally, it is within an encryption layer. So ideally, you should use an encoder and decoder that encrypt and decrypt messages. I haven't done that too much, but it does work. Right? You can do it if needed. And you do need to set a sender ID. That is important because you want to be able to distinguish your messages from other people's messages. Otherwise, you end up acknowledging your own messages, right? And you don't want to do that, right? So you want to kind of ignore messages that you find on the network which are used for acknowledgement and things like that. Yeah, and that's it. So when you create a reliable channel, you pass your Waku node, you pass the channel name, you send the ID, and the encoder and decoder that we created before. Once you have that, you can easily subscribe to messages. So we use event-driven API. So you can add the event listener on the message received key, and that gives you Waku message that you can then process, display to the user, or do whatnot with it. Then the more interesting API is send message. So to send message, you just pass the payload. Actually, I'm very keen to move away from the Waku message concept and just talk about payload. So the payload is just a byte array. So you do you do whatever with your payload, your application payload, and just pass it to send it. This gives you a message ID that you can then use to track your message. So you can listen for event for errors. So if you get you can get an event that has a message ID and that has an error that you can then maybe display with the user or do something with that. And the most important part is you have message sent event, which allows you to show one thing to the user. For now, the message sent logic is quite basic, but we could also improve it over time to have more, I would say, give more assurance to the user that the message was sent. But the most important part, and which is what SDS gives you, is the message acknowledged, where it means that this message was present in the causal history of a message from another user, or was present in some Bloom feature. I haven't mentioned it, but SDS has some Bloom feature as a feature. And in this case, when you have this event, then you can show in two ticks to the user, for example. Yeah, so that's the API. So now let's live demos. All right, so I have a couple of live demos. You are free to jump on them. I think this one is quite cool to go in. Chat.firecracken, that's my alias, like my name here, .is.link. So it's deployed on IPFS, fully decentralized application. So if I share this tab here, let me just refresh. So this doesn't have local storage. It always retrieves all the messages from the Waku network, which is not how you should build an application Waku. You should have local storage, but it allows me to go and play with it. So feel free to join me right now if you want on this. I will send let me zoom in. We rewrite the page here, which is chat.firecracken.is.link. Or so that's an IPFS version I uploaded a while back, and there's a more updated version which I think some bug fix there. So I send a message. You can see a little wheel of death, and then 1 cent is ticked, and I can see that other people have opened the chat. So now I have my double tick. I added some debugging windows here. So I just added some more messages today. So it means that when you do stock query, it does retrieve all the messages. It's more interesting if you come back tomorrow and you see that it might notice some missing message, as you see here, and it just displays the hints. That's more for kind of like debugging. And then it might recover them via automatic stock query or via the periodic stock query, and you can see, okay, you retrieve all the messages. So it works quite nicely. And here in the system window, so you can see when I've been sending sync messages in the background automatically, recover stuff. What's interesting is that if you play when no one else is there, you also see that the message are being resent, right? That's not something you want to show to user normally, but it's more, trying to play around with this. So yeah, have fun with that. It's fully vibe coded as well, right? So that's one. That's an interesting part that I really enjoy, is that this is one index HTML file that I created to test the API, which means that I was able to easily push this file to IPFS and sort it with ENS, and you have your free decentralized web app. I think there's a second JS file now as well, and a manifest, because I was playing with PWA. Progressive web apps on mobile, but PW is garbage anyway, so there's no point. But yeah, it's one index HTML file. It pulls the JavaScript code from CDN, and there we go. It works. Quick other demo here, which is Opchan. So Opchan is a Reddit-like forum. I'm trying to zoom in. There you go. It's a Reddit-like forum, which is just on Waku. You can use ENS to log in. We are wrapping up so that's more, I would say, refined project we have. The URL is opchan.app, opchan.app. And also use SDS. And actually, I'll talk more about it. But yeah, you can play with that as well. We are very close to kind of pushing it for more usage. And yeah, Danish did a great work on this one. All right, so back to the presentation. So next step. So yeah, so Danish has integrated SDK, the reliable channel in Opchan. I think Vassal did it on Waku as well, the Q&A one. And Vassal did a recent vibe code where he created a web app calendar to manage your calendar. And if you want to share your calendar to the users, you can use Waku and use SDS, and he confirms that he was able to give the docs to the AI, and the AI just was able to use this simple AI, right? Simple API. I would say a general engineering comment. Lately, I've been pushing very hard for everyone in Waku to document the API and give it to LLMs, because if the LLM can vibe code from this API and the documentation is a good sign. If they can't, then we probably can do a better API. Okay, so sorry. So yeah, so the feedback from Opchan integration was to extend the time range period on Store Connect, because right now it's just 24 hours. So when you come back on Monday after nobody played with it over the weekend, it doesn't have any messages, and you say, "Oh, where are the messages?" So I've changed that already. I already merged the PR, so it's not in the all the code before is already in the latest release of JS Waku. For this one, it's not done yet, but you still want to be. You don't want to smash the store servers. So there's some logic to say, okay, I'm going to do some queries. And as soon as I find the SDS message and I get new message IDs, then I can stop the time range query and shift to doing hash queries, shift to doing queries just with message IDs of missing messages. Another point for the irretrievably lost messages. So, which goes with the miss messages. So one feature we thought would be good was we start the page and a message are missing. So to have some kind of syncing phase for the user to say, okay, we know that it's missing messages, just wait a bit for it to load. The problem is that sometimes you might never be able to retrieve the message, and you still want to kind of officially give up and be in a consistent state at the end. So that's already implemented in SDS, but I haven't really tested it and played with it in a reliable channel. So that's one of the things I want to do. So you can show to the user, we have missing messages, we are syncing, and end up in a good state. Other thing I wanted to do as well, improving the backup for retry. So looking at status. So status private chat currently, it tries for 2 weeks with an exponential backup. So I want to do the same. Once we have more RLAN in the browser, so once we have RLAN in the browser and we attach RLAN proof to message on the browser, we may have to adjust some default values to ensure that we stay within the rate limit. It will be a very interesting moment to see how it goes. I want to write the specs. I started to do that, but it's not done yet, to kind of like just describe what I've done with this one as kind of implementation recommendation for SDS. We have a new protocol, which is SDS repair, which is an extension where if you can't find a message, you can ask other participants in the chat. Of course, you also want that to be scalable because you don't want, you have 1,000 participants and all participants ask for the message, or 500 participants ask for the message and 500 of them reply to that, and you end up with explosion of messages. So you also want to do something which is quite clever there. So we have a spec for that. I started implementation in JS Waku. I'll be keen to resume that in a few weeks. I wonder if I could do something more clever for the message retrieval. And also, yes, as I mentioned, right now there is no local storage. You could add it. The API actually allows you to add it. But I think it'd be quite nice to have storage, like message storage in the browser out of the box, so that yes, you can have your own local storage like Option does, but ideally as a developer, you don't even have to think about it. Messages are stored in the browser automatically, and when the user reopens the app, they already have their previous messages, and you just need the latest messages from the Waku network to get them from the Waku network. Yeah, that's it. So we do have a doc. Actually, quite proud of this. It's a doc page I can share here on the docs.waku.org website. You can do build, JavaScript, and the first tutorial is the API I just showed. We have SDS spec, the JavaScript implementation in this folder, the code for the chat, code for option.
This is awesome. Great job, man.
Any questions? No questions. Yes, the app SDK. Yes, I asked the AI to. I mean, of course, the retro chat was fully AI done, and they ask for retro, retro stuff.
Everybody loves the retro. I imagine this is going to work. I think maybe where should we go from here? You have Jazz on and talk about Chat SDK updates from this, because I feel like the chat demos are the thing.
Yeah, let's do it. And maybe a comment. The last comment is that this is the same protocol that we are integrating in Status app as we speak right now. And what was good? So I really think SDS is going to solve a lot of problems, especially around store centralization. That's why I was very excited. That's why I just did it. Did the wrapper. But what was good as well is that this really did a lot of dogfooding and hardening of the usage of SDS, that we can then take these learnings and push them into the new implementation. So yeah, so it's been a productive exercise.
Yeah, I like the subtle, like the nuance you added with it being agnostic to Waku. So the hints allow you to understand what protocol you're using underneath, but it's the underlying actual SDS protocol that doesn't care.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks, Frank. Appreciate
Awesome.
it. You can go to bed now. I know it's very late for you.
See you, team.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Jazz, take it away.
Hello. So yeah, I'm here to update on kind of the Chat SDK side of things. And there's a video that I've prepped just to make sure everything goes smoothly. But a lot of the items are going to be filling in just on what Frank was kind of talking about integrating the SDS and kind of building a layer on top of that. And so I'll play this and then we can talk about questions after that. This is going to be a quick demo of what's been happening in the chat research side of things. After some fighting with Nimble to get the proof of concept up and running, Yvonne was able to help me out in the migration to Nimbus. So we're kind of back up and running, which has been fantastic. And I think it makes sense to kind of go over, this quick demo that we have. The core focus for the past couple of weeks has been focusing on the API and really looking at what it would look like for apps like Status or anyone else who wants to build with the Chat SDK to go and make an app and what's required and making sure that they have all that information and power at an easy and accessible kind of manner, right? We've been really focusing on making it as streamlined as possible, but with also having enough power and ability to configure it as you need. And so this right here is just a short demo on how to create an Echo bot. It's going to receive a message and then send a message ad nauseum. If we look here, we have to import Chronicles and Chronos for asynchronous and logging. And then we get into the Chat SDK component. Also here is this content types. It's not too important, but the idea here is that the Chat SDK is only concerned about the transmission of content from client to client. But in order to build apps that can interoperate with each other, it might make sense to have content types or these well-defined images or text, emoji, reactions, maybe voice memos, maybe have some pre-canned ones that people can use to get up and running that ensures that as long as everyone's using the same content type library, then they can have interop across the different applications. Developers are free to choose their own, but we can get into that later. And then we just have a short little main function here. We are going to create a default configuration, which gives a known great start. Developers can then modify that should they need. Inside here is going to be Waku config. So cluster ID, shard ID, your node keys in there. If you have any static peers you want to configure, anything that's dealing with the delivery service kind of goes in there. So it's easy to modify and to make your own from a known example. We create an identity. Right now, identity is something we're going to face down the road. So currently it's just a key pair that is used to identify an individual installation. So we generate a key pair and we pass it in to initialize the client. In order to be able to react to messages, there's a callback system here that's pretty straightforward. You can register for a notification when a new message comes in. You can also get a new conversation. So in this case, when a conversation comes, we're going to send a quick little hello. And then when the new message arrives, we're just going to reply back with the same message, like an Echo bot would. And then you have to start the client, which runs the background process. It's going to be listening for messages and then does all the callback handoffs. And then the only part to kind of get started here is there's this intro bundle that allows people to connect to it in our platform. Discovery happens via links that have encoded identity key and an ephemeral key and the information required for apps to kind of get connected. And then we run that main loop and kind of get the bot going. And so the goal here is that it's actually quite simple, quite straightforward, gives developers what they need in order to get going. Our first milestone deliverable is for that developer preview of the Chat SDK, so we can go and get feedback. And so it's not supposed to be entirely, feature complete on all the parameterizations that people want, but at least provide base functionality so that we can get feedback about what's working with. NIM, just to kind of sense what developers will be going through. The first thing you can see that there's no peers, so we need to have somebody for starter to contact. And that person's going to be Rhea, the receiver. And so we bring Rhea online here. We can see that the peer count has jumped up to 1, which means that they're connected. That's great. The next thing we need to do is kind of make sure that Saro has all the ingredients and key material required to reach Rhea. So if we pull up this invite, it's a little bit easier to grab from here. This format will need to change. Right now it's just an identity key and an ephemeral key, and then a hint that helps the clients figure out which key in their database they need to cross-reference it against. I think we can find a more efficient way to do that, and that's a spec that's currently in the works called invite links. But so if we go and bring this and paste it into Saro here, we can see that a new chat's been opened up, and we can verify it here as well. We have the new chat. This chat ID is just it's derived from the keys that are used, so it's unique to each one. And we can say hello when we get messages. You'll notice that there's some question marks right here. That is because currently encryptions, or the private V1 encryption, is not in place. And so we don't have any sender authentication. And since 100% of the identity of a message comes from the cryptography, right now we have no guarantee. So there's just question marks, but that's something we're working on. If we reply, we can also see here that there's delivery notifications have been implemented in the protocol level and then integrated into the app. So there's a circle when you're unsure of whether it's been read, and it moves to a check mark when it's been officially received. And to do this, we use SDS in the background. And so as messages get sent, they are sent with a delivery or with an acknowledgement of the message, and then we surface that back to the clients via a callback. So clients can look forward to that. And then if we just go, you can see that checkmark updated. Summary, the core API is in place and implemented. It's been holding up fairly well. The protocol payloads and abstraction layers between all the different parts of the chat API have been fairly established, and I think are holding up. I think we're learning some lessons, but so far so good. SDS integration or partial integration has at least brought us the delivery acknowledgements so that there's minimal functionality in order to kind of be building these small apps so that developers can keep testing. Focus now shifts towards encryption. We're still waiting on a few encryption libraries in order to proceed with the proof of concept, but those are up next. That's going to bring in sender authentication, which is going to be a key component of the API. I think there's some changes coming around there, so I'm excited to get that integrated so we can verify that the API is going to hold up, as well as investigating the key store. Currently, how keys are managed, whether that's in the Chat SDK or put up to developers, is still up in the air. So it'd be great to get an implementation in place so we get some feedback on that front. Other than that, if there's any questions, feel free to contact me on Discord.
So from the chat point of view, I think you can see in the demo things have kind of been progressing. There's still some work left in order to get everything in place and kind of move forward on the NIM libraries. But I think it's great having 100% NIM implementation of a Chat SDK that's getting close for developers to start mucking around with.
Awesome. Do you have like an optimistic timeline for getting those extra pieces in?
Yeah, the optimistic timeline was like a month ago. When we sat down and we're like, we just want to build a Chat SDK real quick. I think the boundary of getting a developer preview model out where the focus is actually on the API is a lot shorter. I think right now we're working on Kaichao's right now bringing in noise so we can actually get the implementation we need for inboxes, which is how we send initial invite messages. So I think that will give us a huge indication, but the goal is as quickly as possible. And the factor behind is putting a little bit of fire to kind of get things moved forward.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Love this. Especially just like having like the idea of having a universal Chat SDK that anyone can use that makes whatever applications that are built reasonably like compatible with each other.
Yeah. With a big focus on when the specs were released, we can talk about it a little bit more, but there's this concept of conversations, which is not every way that people communicate is the same, and you should be able to pick and choose what you'd like. So you could view kind of a forum post or an email like a conversation, and has different qualities and encryption techniques versus an instant messaging or a live stream. So by kind of encapsulating all those items together, it should make developers really easy to go build on this common shared platform to share information.
That's really interesting. Like I've thought about that a long time ago, or like a lot throughout the years, and this like kind of the various expectations you have around different types of conversation, whether it be synchronous stuff like this versus a chat app versus a forum post versus a blog post or whatever. It's all kind of conversations, but with different expectations around how you deliver it and how you expect to receive it.
Yeah, and integration with identity, right?
Yeah.
Is it anonymous? Is it highly sender authenticated? Is it somewhere in the middle? And so kind of taking the building blocks we'll have from an applications point of view, such as identity, distribution, moderation, whatever we have in there, and kind of putting it into one single framework, I think is the path forward to kind of building this really flexible system for people to communicate. Flexibility also has to come with some guide rails in order to help developers out. And so it's striking a balance of how do you make it easy to use, yet having those layers of power that, the power users can kind of dive into. So that's kind of been the focus, making sure we can make at least that first part really easy and clean, and having all the abstractions that allow us to provide these communication mechanisms fairly cheaply.
Awesome. Thanks, Jazz. In the interest of time, I'm going to have to move on. We got 2 more demos before we can get out of here. We're already, quite late. So looking forward to see more. Go check out Jazz's work and Waku Discord. Ask questions anywhere you want, and we'll point you in the right direction. Sasha, bring you in. I'll finish up all the Waku demos, and then after that, we'll bring Matias in to give some dashboard love.
I'll say your time. Folks, let me give you a bit of introduction. So today I'm going to present you a website, which is a new addition to product Waku provides to its users, developers, node runners, node operators, whatever, application builders as well. And let me give you a bit of history. So we had a tool called nWaku Compose, which is like a Docker Compose script that is used for running a node with predetermined parameters, and these parameters are neatly packed in some scripts. Amazing tool, used a lot. We have really good feedback for it, and but there was one disadvantage, is that since Waku operates with RLN, we need to somehow acquire this membership. And what we figured out before was that we can provide one of the CLI arguments would be a private key of someone who wants to register an RLN membership. That way we have a script in Waku that does precisely this, having the key and other information like up-to-date contract, etc. Yada yada. We can ensure that user registers it through Waku Compose and get this membership, and then can run the node on TWN network. What happened is that we understood that private key exposure in CLI is not actually a good idea in long run, and there was a low-hanging fruit we identified is a website we can build. So this is precisely this website. We did do a bunch of iterations over it. We had tried to lighten it a lot by using only JavaScript stack. Then we identified some problems, and such as that we still have to use ZeroKit library to ensure compatibility with Poseidon hashing. ZeroKit team did a good job at lightening the library. So if I update the page, you can see that it loads really fast. That means that the WASM of ZeroKit loads quite fast. This is a good result. Here I want to highlight effort of two people from my team, from JS Waku, which is Danish and Arseny. Both of them did well of doing this, and also a lot of kudos to Tanya of supporting everything around this with contracts, etc. So this was a team effort, and let me show you how it works. Spoiler alert, it's not going to work. I messed up with the tokens I minted. But the interface is very simple. There is a lot of information, all the links necessary for additional contexts, even the documentation for the what is the rate limiting, etc. Here we have two types of memberships, which is standard and maximum. Maximum has bigger capacity, obviously. Standard is just regular rate limiting consumption. I need to highlight you that we have like test stable tokens or Waku test token. Now it's TST, not WTT, and they are all available for minting only by being whitelisted. So this is a deliberate design choice right now. We intend to have only a handful of nodes in the network that will do actual proof creation. Because we observed a bit of spike in community of interest, and we want to mature this technology before giving it away in the same free manner that it was before. So I am whitelisted for this, so I can proceed. Later on, we're going to release it for the whole public, so everyone can do this without asking anyone for any support. It's just going to be very straightforward here. So if I press register, I'm going to confirm. So some registration happens. And then if I go to key store, I'm going to see this window where I can download the stored credentials that I just registered. So I can press and it will download me a JSON file. I can probably take a look at it. I think this is the password. Yeah, this is my credentials. This is a big secret. Please don't steal it. And there will be a bunch more of credentials. I can create many more and share them with other people. I can import some credentials if I have them, so that I can keep them on my website stored in local storage. I can export them, and there is additional information about how to run it with particular key store you have in place. All the commands, all the instructions, everything in one place. So this is the tool we have for community. I think it's going to have a big impact, and we're going to polish it further. And this is a bit more work needed, but anyway, this is it for the demo.
Awesome. Love that. I like the slick interfaces everyone's building.
Vibe coding is the way.
Apparently, it's becoming more and more useful to vibe code everything these days. I'm kind of concerned as we build larger and larger open source projects and start inviting more and more people to contribute to them, that those who are reviewing PRs aren't just lost, drowning in a mountain of documentation to figure out what the hell people are doing.
Let's see how it goes. I'm gonna help with that as well.
I certainly love it though. Like, as someone who likes to show off demos of all the work being done, it makes it so much easier to like get people to want to show off their work because they can get it to a presentable state quickly and like make it look the way they want it to.
I actually want to highlight what Frank did. He didn't spend much time on talking about it, but it's very powerful to wipe code a single HTML page and to deploy on IPFS. This is like truly decentralized app. The disadvantage, you're gonna have a lot of HTML on this page, but still.
You can still like throw it in IPFS and then serve it distributedly.
Yep.
Something you can't do for many other things. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that become more of a standard, or how we do that, so that like things like Codex can store and serve those things, and Logos app can make sure that it's easier to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Sasha. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Running out of time. We'll get Matias in here and we'll wrap up. Rock and roll, man.
Hi, everybody. I'm Matias, and I was working on this PM or project management tool for the Waku team. So if you guys have taken a look at the Waku updates, they put out a weekly report which summarizes all of their work among all of their milestones for all of the work that they're doing, basically. And what they let me know is that it's kind of challenging to aggregate all of this information in one place, and it actually takes a lot of time that could be better spent, writing code and building beautiful demos like we've just seen. So I sort of realized that we already are collecting a lot of this data in our Postgres data warehouse, which is tracking sort of the Logos project GitHub actions and all of that data. So I thought, hey, let's try to look at that and see if I can make a tool that sort of streamlines this and makes it easier to write weekly reports and on updates. So basically what we're looking at is the way that the Waku project is structured is that they have a PM repo, which has a bunch of milestones that they're currently working on. So if we go to, let's see if we can find something. So let's say improve developer experience, API, etc. So what we have here is this is the name of the milestone, and we have a bunch of issues that are set up to track progress. And if you click in one of these issues, you can see sort of the conversations, the commits, and so forth that demonstrate the progress that is actually being done. The issue, of course, is that if you wanted to keep track of all of the things that are happening across all of the repos, is that you have to sort of go digging, and it can be quite just a little bit burdensome to do that. So what I've been working on here is this dashboard, which sort of consumes data from the GitHub API and from our data warehouse to make that a little bit easier. So what we have here first, what I'm going to take a look at here first is this activity reports tab. What it does is that it lets you select a time period, which can be the last week, the last 2 weeks, the last 3-6 months, the last year, and aggregates all of the activity that's taken place in all of the Waku repos and sort of aggregates them into a way that is a little bit easier to parse through and consume if you're trying to update the progress report for this particular project. So what we have here in the general statistics is we can see sort of the activity taking place among the main Waku repos that I selected here. Might be missing a couple actually, but it's sort of still in development. So if you have any comments, please let me know, and I'll make sure to fix those. But then what we have here is you can take a look at sort of all of the pull requests that have taken place over the last week. And this way you can sort of figure out what's been happening, where the action is across all the repos, and easily find sort of what catch up on what's been happening over the last week, or where your attention might be needed. Whenever something does come up, it should show up in this report tab. So we have sort of issues and pull requests, little bug there. I'm just gonna go right over it. And then we can just take a look at like the contributors and the work that they've been doing. and then the milestones, sort of what's been happening across the different milestones that we've been taking track of. So this is the activity report, and I know we're pressed on time, so I'm just gonna rush through the dashboard tab. So in the dashboard tab, you can kind of select a milestone that you want to take a look at. And what this is going to do is it's going to pull the sort of all of the issues and the activity that's taken place for the milestone. And then you can sort of see what's been happening, what contributors have been working on. And then if you click on an issue, hopefully what you'll be able to see is sort of if there's any sub issues that are related to this issue, they should pop up here. Well, the performance is actually something that, speaking of things that I would like to improve, the performance is something that is a little bit slow just because of how I'm getting the data. So see here, this one doesn't have any sub issues. Let's see if there's anything else that we might see that has any sub issues we can show off. But yeah, again, the performance is a little slow. That's something I'm been working on improving. But the cool thing is you can kind of jump over to the issue that you want to take a look at, and you can, and if it's taking a little bit long, you can always just jump over to the GitHub side and see what's been going on there. Yep, still loading. And you can just sort of keep track of this. So when you go to the activity report, you can customize it. You can select, hey, I want to just look at this milestone. I want to look at the last 7 days, and I just want to look at, well, I just want to look at all the issues. And what it's going to do is it's going to fetch the data and sort of generate the report we saw a little bit earlier. And I kind of preloaded that just because of how long it's been taking. Should be something I can fix with a little bit of elbow grease, but yeah, that's sort of the state of this tool that I hope is useful to the Waku team. And I think thanks to their help and their structure, I've been able to write this out. Thanks to the infra team that's been gathering all this data into the data warehouse, I've been able to take a look at that and use it to improve, to just make it a lot easier and faster to get started with this. So yeah, I think if you guys have any feedback or you would like to see a feature in here that is currently not, I'm going to be just working on making this a little more performant and speeding it up a little bit. And if there's any other features you would like to see, I will certainly address those the next week. So yeah, please reach out and let me know if I can make this useful for you.
Awesome. I think Chair would definitely going to like the generate report situation in which you can parse through all the work that's been done, generate what he would submit to the roadmap update, and then curate it to make sure it's correct, as opposed to having a manual write all the stuff. And it comes always formatted. It's always formatted in the same way, makes it machine readable. So that
definitely.
So that's other folks who are scraping that data and turning it into AI chatbots have good format. That's always something that's interesting to think about when you submit something in a specific format. Someone who'd like to use that information to then make a chatbot that's useful to inform other people will appreciate that regular format.
Yeah, and I've had to use a couple of heuristics to link stuff wherever the GitHub API falls a little bit short. Linking milestones to issues to sub-issues to PRs. Sometimes I have to just look in the body of the issue, whether there's any reference to the milestone that's been addressed. Sometimes, so that can be a little bit tricky. That's proven to be a bit tricky when I'm trying to make it sort of machine readable. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. But so that might be there might be a couple of gaps in this just due to that. But I think that it's still a very, very powerful way to look at sort of the aggregate activity across a bunch of repos. And hopefully once I get the performance issues sorted, it'll save a little bit of time for the team.
How easy would it be if I were to say I have a collection of 5 repos that I want to watch? How easy would it be for me to spin something up like this based on those 5 repos and then start monitoring that group?
So with the code that I've developed, it will be pretty easy because I just have a list of repos that I'm looking at. And since the data is already parsed and indexed in the data warehouse, I just connect to that and sort of run queries to find the latest activity within the time period that you're interested in. And as long as it's already sort of indexed by the infra team, it should be super straightforward to do. Some things I have to go to the GitHub API, which can be a little bit slower. And that's why in some of these, like generating this report here, it took like 3 minutes maybe. It was a little bit slow because I'm going back to the GitHub API. But when I actually get to use the data warehouse, it's really quite simple and easy. And building an API out of that, like I build the API on using Python Fast API to just go there, return data. It was pretty straightforward to set up, and then I just vibe coded a little dashboard to help with that, just because I think I was kind of limited by what I knew. So yeah, I think it's pretty easy to get started with something like this, and easy to extend to other repos, other projects that might be interested in something similar. You have to be a little bit mindful of how you label stuff and how you reference milestones or parent issues when you write out the body of an issue, and just sort of referencing the previous one as a link or just a number. And I'll be able to or the script is currently able to filter out what issues belong to which parent issue or to which milestone, and that's kind of how I build out the hierarchy wherever possible.
Cool. Look forward to seeing it. People try to use it, see if it's useful, generate more reports on what's going on. Like eventually we'll get to a point where we'll have dashboards that show everything that's going on across Logos and IFT. This is like good effort in that direction. So thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank everyone.
Since we're out of time, I can't go through all the blog posts. We don't have too many published articles this time around. But the Waku monthly update goes through a lot of what you saw in terms of the demos, along with some more stuff that they've done. So I'd say read that one. And then this logo circles one's really good with identifying what logo circles are, how to start one, updates on what's currently being done, why we want to do them in the first place, kind of the philosophy behind them. So go read that too. It's really great. And we have a number of posts, mostly in the logos form this time around. So go check those out. Let's see. Kempo has a post in VAC that talks about documentation throughout the IFT and a project we're working on to try and unify the process of technical documentation throughout the IFT. Go give that a read. The blog that he links in there is a really, really, really good explainer as to why this work matters, and the concept and philosophy around documentation. So I really enjoyed that. Please give it a read. And we have a number of posts from both YouTube and X. Go check them out. I think I missed quite a few of the X stuff. If I'm missing things, guys, let me know. I'll make sure it makes the next one. See you in 2 weeks.